Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us. If you're waiting for mail or planning to send a parcel, you're going to have to wait. 55,000 postal workers are now on strike. This just ahead of the busy holiday season. We'll talk to the union and we'll hear from Canada Post. And we're asking you, does this Canada Post strike have you concerned? How will it affect you? Plus, yes, it is Grey Cup weekend. Have you caught Grey Cup fever? Where are you watching Sunday's game? Let us know. That's after 12:30. I'm Michelle Elliott. Welcome to BC Today. Mail carriers, as you've been hearing, with the Canadian Union of Postal Workers, officially went on strike last night at 9 p.m. That means mail and parcels will not be processed or delivered just ahead of Black Friday and the holiday season. However, benefit checks like Old Age Security, CPP, and the Canada Child Benefit will still be mailed out. The federal labor minister has appointed a special mediator while talks continue. We're asking you, are you concerned about the Canada Post strike? How will it affect you? You can call us 1-800-825-5950, 604-669-3733. You can hit pound 690 on your cell phone, and you can also email bctoday@cbc.ca. And we are hoping to have a clip for you from Canada Post spokesperson John Hamilton, who spoke to CBC this morning. Now, he did say that Canada Post's offer was fair. It included an 11.5% wage increase over 4 years and maintained the defined pension plan while pursuing service expansion like weekend delivery. Okay, we are hoping to have that clip for you at some point later in this half hour. Meanwhile, small businesses in BC say all they can do is wait. Erin Mullally is the owner of Gatley Lifestyle Store on Vancouver's Commercial Drive. She says her store is entirely dependent on a functioning Canada Post.
We ship all of our online orders with Canada Post, and we work with a lot of local Canadian makers and designers. They send their products to us via Canada Post, so it would be delays, again, for the busiest season for us, holiday.
Mm-hmm. And when there's delays, does any of that get passed on to the consumer? Obviously, they're not necessarily able to get their products in a timely manner, but would this ever result in prices having to be increased or anything like that?
I believe so, yeah. If Canada Post is off the table for holiday shipping, we'd have to move to another carrier, and their prices are usually more expensive and would take more time to get there.
Big picture, how hard or how significant is something like this, when it comes to disrupting your product and your supply chain, in terms of affecting your margins? Vancouver's an expensive place to do business.
How
does that play out for you?
Well, we set budgets for the busiest time of year, Christmas being that time, so it would definitely be a concern for us if we were to start to lose some of our sales online and in-store, just having the product available or not being able to ship it to our customers in a timely manner.
That is Erin Mullally, who's a store owner on Commercial Drive in Vancouver. And we do have that clip now from Canada Post spokesperson John Hamilton. Now, he was asked why Canada Post was stopping health benefits when the union served strike notice, as soon as the union served strike notice. And here was his response this morning.
It's incredibly disappointing that the Canadian Union of Postal Workers decided to put a national strike in place, essentially shutting down the nation's postal service. They are denying service to Canadians right across the country. And the farther you get out, there's remote and rural and northern communities that rely on the postal service, especially the businesses too these days that are in the holiday period and counting on Canada Post. So our commitment all along was to continue negotiating, and if they wanted to do rotating strikes, well, we would continue to operate as best as possible. But we understand, but we have no choice but to try and reduce our costs because the union has essentially put up a close sign in our operations for now during the busiest season.
That's a spokesperson for Canada Post, John Hamilton. And again, we're asking you, are you concerned about the Canada Post strike? How will it affect you? Our numbers are 1-800-825-5950, 604-669-3733. Joining me now is Stephen Gale. He's the BC Yukon Regional Rep for CUP W, and that's the Canadian Union of Postal Workers. Stephen, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Michelle. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon to you. Tell me why your members are on strike.
We've been negotiating with Canada Post for a year, trying to resolve the issues that are important to all postal workers. The negotiations were not moving forward. Canada Post was insisting on continuing to push rollbacks that would have affected postal workers in the future and made completely unreasonable working conditions for people. We want healthy and safe work conditions. We want fair wage increases, and we want the ability for all postal workers to retire with dignity, to have that income security when they retire. And Canada Post is trying to take that away.
And as you mentioned, you've been negotiating for a year. Can Canada Post, though, given the losses that they've experienced, really meet those demands and ensure that they are sustainable for the future?
Most of our demands are not going to cost Canada Post money. Most of them are about improving working conditions, making sure our working conditions are safe and healthy for all our members. The wage increases we're seeking are to allow our members to have a wage that keeps up with inflation. We're not asking for astronomical increases. We want to be able to keep up with inflation and have a living wage. As working for a Crown corporation, we should be leading the way and not get involved in a race to the bottom.
The Canada Post spokesperson said that the offer was 11.5% over 4 years. And I know that both sides have said that you're far apart still this week. Can you tell me what the union is seeking?
The last demand the union put on the table was just over 20% over 4 years. And we feel that's reasonable with the where inflation has been and where our members are as far as being able to afford to live in places like Vancouver. Like I say, we're looking for a living wage for postal workers, and our starting wages are very low compared to other companies and Canada Post competitors. Mr. Hamilton is talking about the financial situation and the losses the corporation has incurred. They made those decisions, business decisions that put them in this financial situation. Their financial situation is not due to labor costs. It's due to other business decisions the corporation made.
But are you worried, though, that given those, as you say, business decisions, but also increased competition and the inability of Canada Post to really adjust and adapt to more choices for consumers and more ways to send their parcels and get packages mailed, could those costs that will include labor costs, could they lead to layoffs for your members?
Well, Canada Post started laying off our members this morning, but no, we don't believe so. Canadian Union of Postal Workers has been pushing a campaign for 10, 15 years or more about expanding services. We've been encouraging Canada Post to look at different ways, mainly postal banking. Almost every other postal service in the world has postal banking. It's very successful. It brings in revenue. It helps the postal services continue to be successful in most countries. So we're not against Canada Post expanding services, and we're not against 7-day delivery. We just want to make sure the model that is negotiated is fair to our members, and that it's not creating an entire part-time workforce to do the work on weekends and evenings. We want it to be, good, sustainable, full-time jobs, and we're willing to work with the corporation under those terms.
Stephen, can I just clarify? Did you say layoffs as of this morning?
Yes, we don't know the numbers, but many of our members have received calls from Canada Post saying they're laid off, effective immediately.
Okay, was there any notice of that? How did that all come about?
That is based on the changes to the working conditions that Canada Post put in place at 8:01 this morning. And one of those changes was that they were going to change staffing levels, and that would include layoffs.
Okay, tell me more. Can you tell me more about that? Because I'm just learning about that right now. How many? Do you know how many? And what are your thoughts on that then?
We don't have the exact numbers. It's like I say, it's just happening across the country. We're getting, calls. The first call we received from Vancouver, there was 14 people laid off this morning out of the plant in Richmond, and many others across the country. We don't have exact numbers.
Okay. At this point, the federal government says it will not order binding arbitration. It has intervened in the past in previous labor disputes or contract disputes at Canada Post. Do you expect that to happen? Is that something that worries you, or would you want to see some kind of intervention to get to an agreement?
We want negotiated collective agreements. That's always been our goal from when we started negotiations last November. That is still our goal today. One of the reasons we went on strike last night was to put pressure on Canada Post to come to the table, take the rollbacks off the table, and let's negotiate. And I know that the message from the government is the same, telling both parties to get to the table and get this deal negotiated. That's what we want. What the Minister of Labor or the government will do, we don't know. We're asking them not to interfere. We want that ability to freely negotiate. What we went through in 2018 was not a good process for postal workers when we were forced into binding arbitration. So we're asking the government to stay out of this and let the parties negotiate, and that's what we're trying to do. We're still at the table, we're still talking, we're still trying to get this deal done.
One last question for you, Stephen. What do you say then to people who are relying on Canada Post and are concerned about the disruption of service?
We are too. I'm a letter carrier when I'm not doing work for the union in Nanaimo. I've been a letter carrier for over 25 years. I love my job. I love providing service to our communities, and I want to keep doing that. We all want to keep doing that. We don't want to be on strike for a long time. We didn't want to be on strike at all. But, we want Canada Post to, let's come to the table. Let's get this done. Let's provide the service that we provide to all Canadians. And we can do that. We can get a deal done in a couple days. Like, it's just a matter of getting to, we know what Canada Post wants. They want that flexible delivery for weekends to compete. So let's work on a reasonable proposal that works for both parties and get that done. And then we can work on the wage issue. I don't we have a lot of issues on the table, but I think if we dig in and do it, we can get this done. I mean, I've done 3 rounds of bargaining for our union with Canada Post. I know the process, and I know we can get things done quickly if we dig in and work at it.
Very good to speak with you. I'm sure it's a busy day. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Michelle.
That's Stephen Gale, the BC and Yukon regional rep for the Canadian Union of Postal Workers. And yes, 55,000 members on strike as of last night, and that will disrupt mail and parcel delivery through Canada Post. But your benefit checks, things like CPP or Canada Child Benefits, those will continue. Let's take some calls now from Laura in Port Coquitlam. How concerned are you about this, Laura?
Hi, Michelle. Yeah, I am concerned about it, and I understand the frustrations people have. But I also believe at the root of this is the cost of living and how expensive it is for families just to keep a roof over their head and feed their kids and pay the bills. I think people are stretched so thin, and I hear about it every day when I talk to people in the community. I have a job where I do that, and I just think people are stretched so thin and they can't afford to pay their bills anymore. And so we need to see increases because of inflation. And I think I'm on the side of the workers on this. Cost of living is huge.
Thank you very much, Laura. Thanks for holding on the line as well. That's Laura in Port. Take care, Laura in Port Coquitlam. Some emails now as well. Our email address is bctoday@cbc.ca, asking you, are you concerned about the Canada Post strike? How will it affect you? Suzanne writes, can someone explain to me how the union rationalizes the strike for more pay when Canada Post has lost over $700 million last year? One union rep said that if they can afford to invest in new facilities and electric vehicles, then there's no excuse. However, electric vehicles would, I presume, counterbalance the huge amount spent on fuel for their delivery vehicles. So long term, that's presumably a good, cost-effective move. Natasha writes from Victoria, I'm personally really disappointed to hear about this strike. It might sound insignificant, but my fiance and I just ordered our wedding invitations to send out and are unsure we will be able to get them out anytime soon. This is also negatively affecting my work, but I know this will be devastating for small businesses, especially those on Vancouver Island. And Kate writes from Trail, I'm in solidarity with the postal workers. Canada Post is not bargaining in good faith with labor. Without workers, Canada Post would not be able to deliver the mail at all. Laying off workers is an underhanded tactic. Thank you for your email as well, Kate. Again, it's bctoday@cbc.ca. Let's go now to another caller. And Kate in Victoria is president of the local of Cup W there. And she did join us and called us the other day as we covered this story and contract disputes in Canada. Kate, welcome back. And here you are. At that time, you said you're just all you could do was sit and wait. And here you are now. You're on strike. Thanks very much for calling back.
Yeah, thanks so much, Michelle. And it's just serendipitous. I just left a picket line here out in Langford in the Western communities and happened to be in the car at the same time and heard your show happening again. So thanks for having me again.
How are you feeling now? I mean, you've just left the picket line. Tell me what you're hearing from your members.
Well, some of their fears are alleviated, that bit of the unknown. And, a lot of them felt the support. Like I went at 9 o'clock last night. We had a shift going on in our sortation plant. That's sort of the heart of the distribution center to the rest of the island. And we walked them off the floor. And, there was lots of rounds of applause. We did a little mock interview with them. What are the things they want? And, my Stephen Gale before me there, said most of what I would say. To the other comments that came in, the example of the wedding invitations, great example. And we have to remember, Canada Post is a public service that's not taxpayer funded. And we are the most reliable, the most trusted. We're always one of the most trusted brands, Canada Post. That goes door to door to door, does that last mile service that no other company does. And Canadians care about that service and want to protect it. And that's a great example. And I feel for that person, with their stuff stuck in limbo. You asked, what can people do right now? Well, they can go on to our website, cupw.ca. There's a link there. They can send a message to the CEO, Doug Edinger, to encourage their bargaining team to come back to the table and bargain something fair with us.
Do you worry? You said that Canada Post is a trusted brand. Do you worry about that getting eroded, Kate, as we've seen, more use of private carriers and delivery services? Do you worry about that brand eroding?
Not necessarily the brand. I think, again, they're trusted. They do lots of good things in their community. They are community hubs in lots of areas. But, this isn't a race to the bottom, right? Yes, we have to be competitive. We agree. We need to look at ways, the flexibility in different ways. But frankly, I had our Labor Council allies on the line today, representing 25,000 workers in the Greater Victoria area. Unions bring up wages and better working conditions for all workers, not just their own unionized workplace themselves. So I think that we have to talk about bringing everybody else up, not going down to the level that they're at with the precarious work.
Okay. Kate, good to hear from you again. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
That's Kate joining us from Victoria, the president of the local there for Cup W. Ron is our next caller now in Victoria. Hi, Ron.
How you doing?
I am fine. And are you concerned about the strike at Canada Post?
I'm getting tired, really tired of listening to all the strikes. And all these striking people are in unions, and they all have pensions, and they just keep wanting more and more.
Isn't the cost of living going up more and more?
It is, but why don't we find out what they are making and how much they're going to be making once they retire? Because they are totally out of touch with what the average person is making today, and they don't have pensions.
Okay.
All this has got to count. Like if we started, or if you started broadcasting what those dock workers make, it would disgust everybody.
Ron, thank you.
They hold the country at ransom. I just find it disgusting.
I hear your frustration, Ron. Thank you very much for the call from Port Coquitlam and our discussion the other day on the port workers. I think we did talk about wages there and the level of wages at the time. Let's quickly squeeze in Gerald in Lake Cowichan. I don't have a lot of time, Gerald, but please go ahead.
Okay. My greatest concern is the number of times that the government allows things to get to the critical point and then steps in and forces binding arbitration on workers across Canada. Now, the management of Canada Post has had years to adjust their.
Okay. Gerald, I'm sorry we lost your line there, but the concern around the federal government stepping in. Again, no plans at this point, according to the Labor Minister. It is 12:28 now. Now, some experts on Canada Post say the Crown Corporation needs radical change. Ian Lee is a business school professor at Carleton University. He authored a report on Canada Post titled, "Is the Check Still in the Mail?" And Lee questions keeping Canada Post as it is.
70% of its customer base is gone. Parcels, they're down 50% market share in 4 years. So I advocated radical surgery, and because if they don't, it's going to die anyways. So I said you got to franchise all the post offices across Canada, and the Loblaws and the Sobeys and the Shoppers Drug Marts and so forth. They love to get postal franchises because it's a traffic builder to get people to come in the store and buy all the other stuff. That's why they want to be a franchise. And that's going to say, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. You get rid of all those people, you're talking downsizing. And they'll have to be compensated with layoff packages, severance packages. And then I said, you shut down the home delivery to the 25% of Canadians who live in the urban centers like Point Grey and Vancouver, the Glebe in Ottawa where I live. Full disclosure, I get home delivery and I should not. And that's Deloitte estimated back in 2015 for the Blue Ribbon panel that I testified before, that home delivery is costing $500 million a year for those 25% of privileged Canadians. That number is probably now about $800 million because of inflation. And then finally, and most importantly, this idea that we've got to guarantee that 60,000 or so postal workers march up and down the streets of Canada 5 days a week, 52 weeks a year to 17 million addresses is preposterous.
You're with BC Today. We're live on Radio 1, on CBC Television, and live streaming as well. You can catch us on our website, cbc.ca/BC, on YouTube at CBC British Columbia. You can use, of course, our live streaming service as well, and it's called CBC BC. It is now 12:30. Coming up, we're going to talk about the Grey Cup. It's kind of a big deal, and it's happening this weekend in downtown Vancouver. We have some enthusiastic guests about to join us, and we'd love to hear from you. Are you excited to watch the Grey Cup? Are you a longtime CFL fan? Or we're hearing that there's more interest now, so are you a new convert to the CFL? Love to hear from you. Who are you rooting for We have a diehard Blue Bombers fan here on the show. We don't have balance on that, unfortunately, right now. But we will get into that conversation coming up after the CBC News update. And here now is Rob Zimmerman.
Good afternoon. There's a new push on both sides of the Canada-U.S. border to get the Columbia River Treaty signed before Donald Trump moves into the White House. Foreign Affairs Minister Melanie Joly and U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken met in Lima, Peru, ahead of the APEC meeting to discuss the treaty. An agreement in principle was reached in June. Trump said in September there was a large faucet in Canada that could be diverted to fix California's drought, water that is aimlessly being poured into the Pacific Ocean. The Insurance Bureau of Canada is calling for more federal funding after storms here in BC last month caused more than $110 million in damage. The Bureau says residential flood insurance is not always available. It says a solution would be a fully funded national flood insurance program. And the city of Prince George is suing the designer of its $39 million downtown pool. The civil claim alleges HDR Architects' design of the Canfor Leisure Pool was deficient. The claim cites significant issues with the pool's mechanical system and building envelope. And now the forecast on the north coast. Rain this afternoon with a high of 7, highs to 9 degrees and mainly sunny in the Peace. In the central interior, including Prince George, sunny with a high of +1, highs to 5 degrees with a mix of sun and cloud in the Kootenays. In the southern interior, including Kelowna, a bit of sunshine with a high of 6, and mainly cloudy this afternoon in the Fraser Valley, a mix of sun and cloud in Metro Vancouver and Greater Victoria with highs around 10. That's your CBC News update from Vancouver.
Okay, I have to admit, I'm not all up to speed on football. Are you a fan?
I'm not a huge CFL fan. I have been in past years, but I haven't been into it for the last maybe 3 or 5 years, I would say.
Why is that?
I go in and out.
You go in, just...
Yeah, I'm not sure really. Yeah, just don't have the time. I guess I'm more into the NFL. To be honest, the Seahawks.
I bet that comes up a lot. I bet that comes up a lot. It's something that they have to contend with, for sure.
Yeah.
For me, I think it's more. I'm a big basketball fan, so and even that I've been on and off over the last since the Raptors won the finals. I've kind of been off of the bandwagon.
I think you may not be the only one who is off the Raptors bandwagon. Yeah,
exactly.
But it's a lot of time. I mean, it's a 3-hour game, right? A football game. So it's a lot of time to commit to sports.
Well, that's why you have snacks.
Yeah.
Rob, thank you.
You're welcome.
Have a great weekend.
See ya.
Rob Zimmerman in the CBC Vancouver newsroom. And this is BC Today here on CBC. Coming up this afternoon on the Coast, here's what you can hear.
Hi there, Michelle. Happy Friday to you. It's Gloria Makurenko here, inviting you to join us for On the Coast this afternoon. Do you know who's going to be our guest? Patricia Kelly. And if you're kind of scratching your head saying, who? Patricia Kelly is the dancer Gene Kelly's widow and biographer. She's in town this week to honor his legacy along with the Vancouver Symphony Orchestra. So Patricia Kelly is going to be our guest right here in studio. Also, as you're well aware, it's Grey Cup weekend and the festivities have been on for days already. There are free concerts, there are ticketed concerts, all kinds of events going on. We are going to take you live to one of those events this afternoon between 3 and 6 for On the Coast. Join us.
Welcome back. You're with BC Today here on CBC. I'm Michelle Elliott. A very happy Friday to you and a very happy Grey Cup weekend. Now, if you're in downtown Vancouver, you're going to see tens of thousands of football fans decked out in their team jerseys this weekend. The Winnipeg Blue Bombers face the Toronto Argonauts at BC Place on Sunday for the 111th edition of the Grey Cup. And 30,000 people are expected from out of province. So we want to hear from you. Are you in Vancouver to catch the Grey Cup? Where are you watching the game? And let us know, too, if you have been following the CFL for a long time or you've just jumped on the bandwagon. We'll give away a BC Today water bottle to one lucky caller. You can call us now, 1-800-825-5950. 604-669-3733. You can hit pound 690 on your cell phone. If you would like to email us, it's bctoday@cbc.ca. And right now, let's take you outside to outside Canada Place, and the CBC's Liam Britton has made the long journey from downtown Vancouver to downtown Vancouver. Hey there, Liam.
Hey, Michelle, how are you?
I am well. It looks quite busy behind you. I see a food truck, people walking up and down behind you there.
Yeah, Michelle, the vibes are immaculate. I gotta say, we've been chatting with CFL fans from across the country. Some folks from, just like me, from just down the street. Some folks from Halifax. Lots of people wearing lots of different CFL colors. Even though their teams might not be in the Grey Cup final this year, people just keep coming out for the Grey Cup. And I was astounded to meet people who've been to 4, 6, 12, 18.
Wow.
One fellow has been to 22 Grey Cups, only missed 1 or 2 for the pandemic. And what really struck me is that there's these kind of cross-Canada friendships that are kept alive by this game. By people just see each other once a year, and they know each other. They have this camaraderie, this friendship that is alive because of this game. And these friendships are being renewed this weekend right here in downtown Vancouver.
I can't believe how busy it looks behind you on a Friday at noon. Although it is quite lovely and sunny, that may have drawn them out. I see a couple of football jackets there behind you now. How excited are people, Liam?
People are pumped. Oh, we got some folks just walking through here. We got, yeah, no worries. Enjoy the weekend. There's lots of excitement here. Families. We're trying to keep track of the jerseys we're seeing. We're seeing lots of Winnipeg fans out here. They are really rolling deep. We're seeing entire families of Winnipeg fans. And I would never call out the good people of Toronto. Except for right now, I'm calling out the good people of Toronto because the Argos fans, I went there. Not definitely outnumbered here, although we did speak to one couple of Argos fans who said that their flight in, they were hearing "Go Argos" through the entire cabin. So I think there's a lot of fans from I'm just astounded by all the different fans here, and the excitement is really high.
Oh my goodness! So the party starts.
There we go. Argos. No Argos? Okay.
No
the Ontario
Argos.
rivalry lives on.
You did not
See,
get
I'm not the only one calling out Toronto fans.
Exactly.
And the Hamilton folks will help me out there.
They're just happy to step up there. I can't believe so the party actually starts on the plane on the way here. There is a zip line, Liam. Are you?
And some aggrieved Lions fans as well, of course.
Yes, of course. Thank you for representing. Are you going on that zip line there?
Am I going on the
zip line?
Marte, can you show the zip line? Can you show how high that thing is? Okay.
Whoa!
Well,
there
Michelle,
are people zipping down right now.
Michelle, I think it's a little rude of you to call out my alleged cowardice about heights on a live radio show, but, alleged cowardice. I'm just going to say I'm going to enjoy the zip line the way I enjoy my CFL, which is far away from the field, perhaps with a drink in hand, watching from afar.
Safely on a couch.
Very safe. That's where I belong.
Well, I'm going to call you out because you had the temerity to call out the Argonauts. Liam, have fun over there, okay? Thank you.
I will. Thanks, Michelle.
That's a CBC's Liam Britton. Okay, call us and let us know now. Are you watching the Grey Cup? Who are you rooting for? If you're an Argonauts fan, you kind of want to balance things out there because apparently they're not showing up on the streets of Vancouver right now. You can give us a call, 1-800-825-5950, 604-669-3733. You can email us to bctoday@cbc.ca. Now, speaking of those Blue Bombers jerseys, we do have someone here already on set wearing one as well. Chris Timofeychuk is a longtime CFL fan, a diehard Winnipeg Blue Bomber fan. And you're here from Toronto? From Ottawa?
From Ottawa.
From Ottawa. See, it's visiting. And Mario Canseco is president of Research Co., also a football fan. And his recent polling has found that interest in the CFL has actually increased over the last couple of years. Hello to you, Mario.
Hi, Michelle.
You did not dress up.
No, I didn't know we should. But
yeah, I did
Lions.
not send you the memo. And you're a big football fan yourself?
Yeah, I'm in a previous life I was a sports reporter, so I became very interested in the NFL when I was working in Mexico covering sports. Moved to Canada, and the first CFL game I watched, I kept asking, why are they punting on third down? And then somebody explained to me the rules, and I became a fan because it's such a fun game, so quick. Certainly something that I grew into.
Oh, that's wonderful to hear. And so who are you rooting for?
On the Grey Cup?
Yes.
Of course I'm with the Blue
Oh,
Bombers.
well, there you go. Okay, see, again, we are...
No, I don't think we can root for Toronto teams if you're in Vancouver.
You're not allowed. They are the favored team. And so tell me more, Chris, about, why you're here, and tell me about the sort of the festivities and just how you're feeling right now.
Well, being here for the 5th year in a row, we're feeling pretty good, right? Our team has made it 5 years in a row. Hopefully we get it done this year. I think Liam caught a little bit of what Grey Cup is like.
Yeah.
You put a gathering of people from across the country, and everybody's in a good mood. Everybody's having fun. We love to make fun of each other's teams,
Yes.
but we love each other as fans.
It's all in good fun.
It is. And that's part of the experience, and that's why people keep coming back.
Okay, so as you mentioned, a couple of upsets over the last the run of 5.
I would say heartbreak.
Yeah, heartbreaking. Yes. Oh, okay. So what's it like for you to be a Blue Bombers fan? Because as we were talking about earlier, you can sometimes fall off a bandwagon. For myself, I watch the Raptors religiously. Haven't watched very much lately. So for yourself, watching the ups and downs, what's that been like?
Well, it all started. We went 29 years without winning a championship, right? There were whole generations of families that didn't get to see Winnipeg win. And when they did, it was just such a joy for the city, the province, the team. And then they built up almost this dynasty. So now everybody's really, really enjoying it. They don't take it for granted. Eventually it's going to come to an end and we'll pass it on to somebody else. But for now, we're just going to enjoy it.
You're gonna, and do you meet up with other fans as well when you come and watch?
Absolutely. As Liam pointed out, sometimes we see people and friends just once a year at the Grey Cup. You get caught up on them, you share a beverage, you enjoy breakfast, and then everybody disappears and goes back and waits till next season.
What's the kid doing? Kid number 1, kid number 2,
That's
off to
it.
college.
Exactly.
Mario, and you have recently put out a poll, and you found some increase among various groups as well in the CFL. Tell us about that.
Well, it's interesting to watch how 10, 15 years ago, your CFL fan base was essentially over 55. They had a very tough time trying to attract young people into the game. Now we have about a third of Canadians of all age groups who say that the CFL is something that they follow. And this is particularly crucial because if we remember in the early stages of the COVID-19 pandemic, there was a significant chance of the CFL not existing anymore. We went for the first time in 100 years without actually giving the Grey Cup to the winning team. And the viability of the league was at stake. And that certain decisions that they made, ownership changes in some places, have led to the situation that we have now, which is essentially people of all ages paying attention to the league, not at the same level as the NFL, but getting close to it with a significantly smaller budget and without having to compare what the Super Bowl is when it comes to the ad spend and everything else. But having 44% of Canadians tell us, I want to watch the Grey Cup this weekend, isn't something that was imaginable in the early stages of the COVID-19 pandemic.
What do you think has been the draw?
I think the game is just a lot of fun. And it's certainly, what I've seen from the data is you don't need to be a fan of one league and essentially say goodbye to all others. And that is part of what we have. People in Vancouver who say, I love my Seahawks, but I also love my Lions. And that is part of the essence of this. It's not like we're competing with each other. There might be some moments when you're playing at the same time. But also, I think the sense of camaraderie that a league like this brings. We hosted the Stanley Cup a few years ago, and you didn't have the pageantry that you have during the Grey Cup week. You don't have people wearing jerseys from all over the place and saying hi to each other. We were just talking earlier. I saw somebody with a Baltimore Stallions jersey yesterday, which was insane. This is something that happened in 1993, was it, when they won?
Do you trade pins, Do you
we,
trade pins at all?
we collect a few pins.
Yeah.
There are some folks out there that are decked out in pins all over their body. So
love
there
that.
is some of the trading going on.
And so for yourself, now we described you as a diehard fan. You actually have broken a record for how many stadiums you have visited.
Yes.
Tell us about that.
Yeah, I was fortunate enough this summer to break Vancouver's own Bobby Dubois record
Yes.
for the fastest visit to all 9 CFL stadiums to see a game.
Okay.
And it was fantastic meeting the fans around the league. We did a little bit of fundraising for CFL Fans Fight Cancer. The money goes to the Michael Cuccione Foundation, which is childhood cancer here in Vancouver. And just meeting the different fan bases in the different cities. Every city has a different vibe, something unique about it. But in the end, at Grey Cup, it's all coming together. Everyone sort of focuses on something together.
Okay, I want to hear how that all happened though, because it must not have been that easy. But you do have a bucket here as well for the cause. Tell us about that.
Yeah, I thought I would just go around and collect maybe $20 or $30 at every stadium, and all of a sudden people sort of glamped onto the bucket, and it was in Regina, walking the streets, and someone said, "Hey, it's the bucket guy." And that sort of took off with social media.
The word spread.
It did.
Yeah.
It got around, and people would seek out the bucket. They would pull out money from their wallets.
Wonderful.
It really was a good news story, and people just wanted to be a part of it.
Yeah, CFL Fans Fight Cancer, it says on the bucket. Lovely that you're using that towards a good cause. Let's take some calls now. We're asking you, it is Grey Cup weekend in Vancouver. The festivities are underway, and we're asking you, are you here in town to catch the Grey Cup? Are you watching it elsewhere around the province? Share your fandom with us, whether long time held or brand new for you. Call us 1-800-825-5950, 604-669-3733. My guests are Mario Canseco, former sports reporter, if you didn't know, fun fact, in Mexico, and president of Research Co, football fan as well. Krista Moffachuk is a longtime CFL fan, rooting for, longtime Winnipeg Blue Bombers fan, and has actually broken the record for the number of stadiums that he's visited within 300.
Shortest time.
Yes, within the shortest time. That was not easy for you. Tell us about that journey.
Yeah, it started out as just a fun thing. Guinness requires a lot of due diligence. You have to carry a GPS with you. You have to have video evidence. You have to have eyewitnesses at every stadium. So it's a lot of logistics. When you're jumping from one city to the next, you don't get a whole lot of sleep, and then you forget about some of these things, like leaving the GPS unit in the airport in Calgary.
Oh my gosh.
When you get on the plane. Cars breaking down between Ottawa and Montreal, and having to take a taxi and car rental and things like that. But in the end, it all came together, and we beat Bobby's record by about 90 minutes. And we always say good things don't happen without a little bit of adversity. So that was our adversity.
All 9 in 362.5 hours?
That's right.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Who knew that was even a thing? But there you go. Congratulations to you. Tim is on the line in Kamloops. Hi, Tim. You're a CFL fan?
Long time. In fact, I think that the CFL, in many respects, is way better than the NFL. My friends and I used to call the NFL the National Finance League, because, of course, if you're an athlete, you
it's
want to
a
make
big
as much
budget.
money
as
you can. Yeah, but I think the CFL is a much more entertaining and skilled league, and I find that the NFL somewhat copies the CFL to a certain degree. So as much as I like my Seahawks, I'll take the CFL any day, any time. And just so you know, Mario Canseco, I was at that 1994 Grey Cup in which the Baltimore No-Namers lost to the BC Lions. Because the No-Namers, they didn't have to require any Canadian contingent. So I'm glad we beat them.
I didn't know we were going to get trash talk today.
Oh, I was off by a year, but I do get a margin of error on account of my profession.
No, it was a great game. I've been to 3 Grey Cups, all in Vancouver, but I just wanted to say I hope I live long enough to see the Atlantic Schooners arrive and make the 10th CFL team. Thanks.
Tim, thank you. Enjoy. And he's going for the Bombers, too.
Yeah, that's good to hear. And to Tim's point, this season, 60% of the games were decided in the final 3 minutes.
Wow.
So that's entertaining value.
That's very entertaining. Edge of your seat kind of stuff. I mean, is it hard to keep track of all the stats?
It's a lot of fun. I think part of what makes this compelling is it's a faster game. You know, it's not a 2nd and 5 and you're going to run and it's going to be boring and the clock is going to be ticking down. I think that is part of what makes this compelling. And certainly more compelling for Western Canadians. The level of interest in BC, in Saskatchewan and Manitoba, in Alberta, higher than what we see in Atlantic Canada, in Quebec, in Ontario. Of course, Atlantic Canada doesn't have a franchise, but maybe they'll get that 10th stadium, and you'll go to 10 stadiums next.
Yeah, exactly.
We'll try.
I saw you kind of like giving a puzzled look when you said there perhaps we'll see a 10th team.
I think it's a challenge to do it out east. There was some momentum before the pandemic hit. The league had an opportunity. They had buyers interested. The pandemic hit, and that kind of has gone away. They don't have the political support. I think the new commissioner, when they come in, I think they will pursue it, whether it's Atlantic Canada or Quebec. But we're probably ways off from seeing that 10th team.
Okay, let's put out the numbers again. 1-800-825-5950, 604-669-3733. You can hit pound 690 on your cell phone. Email us too if you want to share your CFL fandom. Who are you rooting for? Are you excited for the Grey Cup? bctoday@cbc.ca. And given how fast it goes and how things can change so quickly, Chris, how are you feeling? What are the chances the Bombers do win on Sunday?
I think based on the West final, the East final, seeing how the teams play, I think Winnipeg is the heavy favorite for a reason. If they play the way that they can, I think they can win. But it's a single game, right? And it's football, and things happen during a football game. So I wouldn't count the Argos out. But I'd be happy if it was a blowout for Winnipeg.
Well, see, this is when the idea of every game being decided in the last 3 minutes isn't that compelling, right?
Right?
Yes.
you want Winnipeg to be ahead by a couple of touchdowns.
Ideally, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
You want to be comfortable. But then when in the end, if that is the result and they do win, you're like, yes! How exciting was that? Chris is on the line in Vancouver, but visiting from Saskatchewan. Hello, Chris.
Good day. How are you folks doing?
Very well. And you're here for the Grey Cup, are you?
Yep, absolutely. Actually, was fortunate to hang out with Chris and some friends, Marcia McNaughton and her boyfriend Lee, last night over at Moose Down Under's pub, I think it was. And the Grey Cup just captures the essence of what makes Canada great. You know, just bringing fans together from coast to coast to coast, and really just being a part of something that's uniquely Canadian, I think. And I think Chris would agree with that.
Absolutely. And Chris is an example, right? From Saskatchewan, here's a guy, run into him once a year at Grey Cup.
Yeah.
We get caught up, have a few beverages, enjoy it. His team's not playing. He still comes out, right, for the celebrations and fans.
Welcome to you, Chris, from Saskatchewan. How many Grey Cups have you been to?
So this will be my 10th Grey Cup, and I've actually never been to the city of Vancouver before, but that's another part of it, too, is that, you know, being able to go to all these different cities and meet new people, make new friends. Yesterday, me and my sister Jen, we went and checked out Stanley Park and some of the other hiking trails around the city, and just being able to do that. One thing I will say, though, in terms of the Grey Cup, is that Amar Doman and the BC Lions have done a really good job with getting the community involved. Because if there's any lack of or anything with the CFL, it's been the lack of marketing, and Amar Doman has done a phenomenal job of that.
Chris, thank you very much. You agree?
Absolutely. We see it. There's a 5-point increase in BC as far as how much people are looking into the CFL, and that has a lot to do with the way in which the ownership has built the franchise. I mean, we had a fantastic start of the season. It wasn't that great at the end, but we still have a playoff game that we went to. But it's part of what makes this more attractive to people who maybe tuned out of the CFL because of the pandemic and are slowly coming back, because it's a completely new ball game in the city.
It's the attention being paid to the city of Vancouver, having invested in this Grey Cup weekend, the tourism ministry as well. They're expecting that $125 million economic boost, and from visitors like Chris from Saskatchewan. Jackie is our next caller now in Kamloops. Hi there, Jackie. Welcome.
Hi.
And are you watching the Grey Cup?
Yes, I will be. I'll be heading down to Vancouver here shortly.
Aha.
I'm watching it live.
Oh, fantastic. How exciting. And okay, so I'm going to guess you're a BC Lions fan?
Yes, I am definitely a BC Lions fan, but I'm going to root for Winnipeg. I also know a lot of people in Kamloops heading down. I have friends of mine that I know. They're telling us 18 people from Kamloops are coming, so it's great. It's a great opportunity for us.
Oh, that's fantastic. Why are you such a big fan?
I think I just enjoy sport in all sports, and it's a great way to support local teams.
Well, and you're leaving soon, are you?
Yes.
Okay, well, I hope you get to enjoy some of the festivities as well and have a fantastic time watching the Grey Cup, Jackie.
I can't wait. Thank you.
Yes, a whole convoy apparently from Kamloops coming down to Vancouver to watch the Grey Cup. I love that. Welcome to all of you. Okay, so any tips for enjoying the Grey Cup, whether you're going or watching from home?
The tips I can offer to coming, we joke about it as the fans that go a lot. There's one word we use, and it's pace. Don't try and do everything all at once. Enjoy yourself, pace, take it easy. It's a 3-day festival. Don't overdo it in one night.
There you go. And Mario?
I would say it's a 3-hour game, and no lead is safe in the CFL. You know, it's not like other sports. I think what makes the CFL unique is that, you know, you need to, you can't just kneel. You have to play. You have to take the ball outside. You have to figure out how to get it where it has to go. And it's tough for NFL fans to understand some of the nuances of the CFL.
Yeah.
How you score a point when you miss the field goal. That kind of thing can be tricky sometimes. But after a while, you get used to it. And it's a significantly more, it's an easier game to follow in that sense.
Let's squeeze in Doug in Salmon Arm. Hi, Doug. You're going to be listening on the radio, are you?
I will be, because I own a delivery business, so I'll probably have to listen to on the car or when I go in and pick up at some of the restaurants I go to.
Oh, well, at least you have that to keep you company, hey? And what is it you love about the CFL?
Well, for one, as everyone said, it's uniquely Canadian. It's faster. It holds on to its history. I mean, like, for example, you look at the Grey Cup, the trophy itself. It's the same trophy. It's just growing and growing and growing. Whereas in, like, the NFL, they remake a new trophy every year. So they may kind of hold on to their heritage or the history, but it's kind of new history as well, right?
Yeah, and that idea of passing it on too, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that.
And I called for 2 reasons. One, I was wondering, like, there was talk of having a new team in the West, making it the 10th team. But, in the East. But why couldn't they have one in the West? So, like in Victoria or Prince George or in Kelowna.
Okay, I have people here raring to answer that question. I don't have time to get into it, unfortunately, but in one word.
Super quick. It helped when the Lions played in Victoria. More people paid attention to it. So
If you're a fan, have fun. Thanks to everyone for calling in.